Why and how are you different? Some keywords and concepts. Dominant recessive traits. Dominant recessive traits are represented by alleles. When the trait is dominant, it is represented by a capital letter. There will have to be one of the capital letter allele present for the trait to show. When the trait is recessive, it is represented by a lowercase letter. 2 lowercase letters would have to be present for the trait to show. Gametes. A gamete is a cell that carries half the amount of chromosomes as a normal cell. It mates with the gamete of the cell of the opposite gender to create a zygote, which is a fertilized egg carrying 46 chromosomes. Another keyword, a genotype. A genotype is a set of traits which is represented by alleles. We will talk more about this later. So how do I get my traits? Everyone has 46 chromosomes, or 23 pairs. You get 23 chromosomes from your mom and the other 23 from your dad. The receiving of 23 chromosomes from each parent is done through the process of meiosis. What is meiosis? The goal of meiosis is to create a gamete. Both parents will make a gamete, a sperm and an egg, and they'll come together to make the zygote, the fertilized egg. Let's take this cell. To make things easier, I have drawn a cell with only 6 chromosomes instead of 46. These lines are chromosomes. When they're the same length, it means that they code for the same thing. But they don't have the same values if they are different colors. They could both have the gene for the eye color, but one is for blue eyes and the other could be for black eyes. These are called homologous chromosomes. Next to meiosis, the chromosomes double. As you can see, there are now an identical copy of each chromosome. When there is an identical copy, the term for the chromosomes is sister chromatids. Next in meiosis, the chromosomes all line up in the middle of the cell, and fibers swindle in. The fibers connect onto the sister chromatids, but each sister chromatid set gets only one fiber connection. Next in meiosis, the fibers contract, and the sister chromatid pairs bend up into half to form a haft shape. Then the cell splits. It makes 2 new cells and releases from the fibers. Then the fibers swindle in again, but this time instead of the one fiber connecting to each sister chromatid pair, 2 fibers from each side of the cell will attach. Now the fibers contract again, and the sister chromatids are split apart. The last step of meiosis is that the cells divide again to make 4 cells. So how am I different? If we go back to these 3 steps, you are most likely wondering how it is decided which sister chromatids go to which side. Well, there's no way of determining. This process is completely random. This means that all blue sister chromatids could have ended up on this side, or all the red ones could have ended up on this side. This is how child variation occurs. We'll talk more about this later on. The cells created are based off what happens in randomization. If all 3 red chromatids were on one side, then the final cell would have looked something like this, because all 3 would have been separated into the same cell, instead of having a variation of blue and red in one cell. In humans, a gamete cell has 23 pairs of chromosomes instead of the 3 pairs that we started with. So the possibility of gametes being identical is almost impossible. Let's apply this to a real-world example with dogs, red and blue. Okay, so we have these random letters. Well, what do they mean? So let's put away the XX and the XY for now. So for these dogs, let's say that C represents the fur color, and the dominant fur color is black, and the recessive fur color is brown. As we can see here, this dog, we'll name him Red. Red is recessive for fur color since the dog has 2 lowercase c's. So he's recessive, which means he has brown fur. And let's say this is Blue. So Blue has an uppercase C and a lowercase c, which means that he's going to be dominant for fur color, which means that he's going to have black fur. Okay, so now let's talk about the XX and the XY. So these X's and Y are sex-linked traits. A girl represented by red has the genotype of XX, and the boy, represented by blue over here, has a genotype of XY. Okay, so let's move on to the gamete. When the dogs create a gamete, mom will give a trait, or an allele for the chromosome, and dad will also give an allele for the chromosome. So let's say mom gives C for her fur color and an X. Dad gives a capital C and a Y. So let's create the genotype. So capital C and lowercase c, and then well, that will mean he has dominant traits, so that would be black fur. And then it'd be XY, which means it's going to be a male. So how does trait variation occur? Trait variation. So what if instead of a capital C and an Y, Dad had given a C and an X? Well, that changes everything. Now he's going to be CC, which means he's going to have green eyes, the child. And now it's going to be XX, which means it's going to be girl instead of male. So there's an 8,324,608 possible combinations of 23 chromosome pairs. 70,368,744,177,664 chance that you are identical to a sibling. And remember, humans reproduce by sexual reproduction, which means that the child is not going to be identical to the parent. And other animals, or like things such as bacteria, reproduce by asexual reproduction, which means that the offspring or baby is going to be identical to the parent. Those are some pretty big numbers. Thank you for listening, and that concludes my presentation.